Welcome to another episode of the IgniteHER series. I'm Uwague, founder of IgniteHER LLC, a boutique coaching firm helping women get things done and harmonize self-care and productivity. Today, my guest, the igniter in Women in Fire, is Stephanie Hess, and you are in for a treat. Stephanie Hess is a leading global success coach. She's a former Fortune 500 beauty director, and she lives on the principle, follow the feel good. She was raised in Lancaster, PA. Stephanie has a love for home cooking and the outdoors, and now she spends her time in between Las Vegas, New York City, Lancaster, and Florida. I'm going to allow her to tell you all the juicy details about her amazing life. So stay tuned.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so happy to be here with you. I love all of our conversations and I love everything you're doing in the world. And I'm just thrilled to be able to sit here and chat with you.
Awesome. It's so funny because sometimes I'm like, I just make excuses to hang out with people on a recording, but I love this conversation. So I know why you are dope, but I want to give you some time and space. So please share who you are and why you are awesome. Brag, boast, don't hold it back.
Oh my goodness. Well, my name is Stephanie Hess. I am the founder of Stephanie Hess Coaching. We are a business coaching company and consultancy, and we help amazing entrepreneurs online build businesses that they feel really good about and that help share their gifts with the world in a really big way. And I've been doing this for several years now, since leaving, making that corporate exit that I know you get what that is like. I know that so many professional coaches have taken a similar journey, and many people are about to take that journey. So I love that we're having the conversation, and there is so much cultural shifting that is happening, so much paradigm shifting that is happening, and amazing leaders like you are leading the charge. And I am just so happy, like you were saying, how we get to just build these amazing businesses and find each other along the way and do this together. I really believe that when one woman rises, we rise together. And so it is just such a joy to be here and to be spreading the love.
When one woman rises, we rise together. I love that. And I love that you shared the fact that you left your job, because droves of women have been quitting their jobs during the pandemic. You did it before that. And as you know, I quit my job in June when I realized that I was trying to make everything else around it fit, like kids aligned with the job, husband, work, all these other things that I loved. I was trying to make it fit around something that I didn't love as much anymore, instead of admitting that it no longer aligns and I just needed to move forward. So I'm personally on a mission to help women create harmony between self-care and productivity. So in theory, I quit my job so that others won't have to quit their jobs. Can you share more about why you decided to quit your job?
Sure. Like so many people, there was a time where I was on this trajectory, and it was a corporate one at the time. And I held a director role for a leading cosmetics company. And for the majority of that journey, I saw that as my path. And that was it, until I realized it wasn't. And I didn't really know what to do or how to handle that misalignment at the time. And I'll never forget, we were in a product meeting in one of our beautiful conference rooms, and spread out in front of us, there were these beautiful trays of lipsticks and bottles of perfume. And there was so much tension in the room. And there was almost this voice that I heard, and it was just this thought of lipsticks. We're fighting about lipsticks.
Uh,
And from there, this slow unraveling, or those divine interruptions that we get,
ooh.
I like to call it that, it reinforced my desire and need and almost urgency to make a change. So this was a kind of a spiritual unfolding. I leaned into so much more prayer, more yoga, really just trying to source more wisdom that wasn't going to be outside of me. And it ultimately gave way to one fateful moment on the couch. I was kind of doom scrolling at the time, and praying for a sign on the other hand. And this ad appeared for coaching certification. So I got my sign, no questions asked. I hired my very first life coach to really help me develop my exit strategy. And here we are.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And there's so many things that you said that I want to touch on. The last thing you said was your exit strategy. I am such a proponent for having a strategy and for a strategic exit. There's this big thing, I don't know if it's social media or where it came from, but people are so focused on cliff jumping. And I don't think that's always the best strategy. Now, when I say cliff jumping, if you mean it taking a leap of faith to start a business, that's fine. But the people who are just going in and turning in resignation letters without an exit strategy, I feel for them, because there has been pressure to just, if you think this is what you're supposed to do, just take that leap and cliff jump. But we have stable bills and we have stable responsibilities that need stable income. So while I don't want someone to work in a field that they don't love or enjoy anymore, I truly believe that you have to have an exit strategy. Like, what are your thoughts on, the success blueprint?
Mm. So I am sure there are people out there that will jump off that cliff and they will find a safe landing. I'm
Okay.
sure. And I'm also sure, and through personal experience, that it's really difficult to, like, you can have a plan, a strategy that you feel really solid in until you're walking through the journey. It's almost really difficult to even connect to what you actually need. And
Mm,
I put together this plan. I felt good. I had my savings cushion. I felt strong financially. And yet once I got into the world of entrepreneurship and I was on my own, there was something I heard. It changed my life. It was when another coach said, the first 3 years in business are the hardest.
mm,
So about the first 1,000 days. And I realized in that moment, oh shoot, I'm pretty good for a year. I thought I was ahead of the ball. Like, I had a plan, I had a safety net for a year. I wasn't thinking that it would take longer. And it did. It
mm.
did for me and my
Yeah.
journey. And so I 100% believe, like, have a plan you feel really good about. Make sure that you have certain ducks in a row,
Mhm.
and also be willing to accept that this might not be a linear path, a linear journey. It might not be what you're thinking it will be, getting from point A to point Z. And that requires a lot more surrendering and letting go than we are usually comfortable and familiar with as high performing women and people.
Yeah. The word surrender, that just resonates so deeply with me, because I'm a woman of faith. I have a relationship with God, and I've named God my CEO of my business. Like, I'm just the one who is doing the operations and, putting things out there, but God is really the CEO. He's the master planner, the strategic mastermind. So when you say surrender, what I'm hearing from you is that there really is no one success blueprint. Like, you have to follow your path. And even within your own life, you have to realize that it's not always a well orchestrated path. Like, I know that personally. I'm not the woman who, at the age of 3, I was taking things apart and I knew I wanted to be an engineer, or I knew that I wanted to be an accountant. Like, I've had so many different jobs, lived so many different places, tried so many different things. And even in my current role, I've seen my business pivot. I've tweaked things, and I've seen it expand in beautiful ways that I would never put on paper. So I love how you just talk about surrendering and also prayer and all those alignments. But even when you talked about that divine interruption, a lot of times when there's either rejection or tension or something where we're like, what is going on? A lot of times that disruption is really a knock from God, like, hey, there's more for you, there's better for you. And while it doesn't mean that it's a walk in the park, it definitely is a trust walk, right? So everything you said was so beautiful, especially when you talked about that external wisdom, because I think sometimes we can go wrong by asking too many people for advice, because that could become conflicting or just confusing.
Yes, yes. And it is so against our human nature to be so tapped into what's happening on the outside. Like we've lost touch of the divinity within, the divine that is guiding all of our actions and what we're called to do and here to do. And I think that the more that we can come back to that, and that's possible through so much of your teachings, Roseanne, and how you teach women to take care of themselves and define what that really looks like, but making space for that. Mm-hmm. And I know self-care is such a, everyone's talking about self-care, but there is a reason. And the more that you can get back to that inner stillness, listen to the voice within, listen to God, whatever it is that you believe in, that sacred space is the compass. Always. It's not what you're seeing in your news feeds, what this one guru is telling you to do. That's usually never it. It's so much closer than we often realize.
I love that. I love how you talked about it being the compass. I remember there's this quote, I can't remember who it's from. Well, actually, it's been accredited to several people, but it says, stop asking people for directions to places they've never been. Right? So I can say to you, as a beauty director, what do you think about X? As a coach, what do you think about Y? But if you've never been to Timbuktu, you probably don't know the directions to get there. But a lot of times that's exactly what happens when we seek this external wisdom, right? So instead of looking within and really believe in all the cliches that we are enough, we have everything we need, do it afraid. Like when we really start to lean into those, I think that's when we start to see our power, right? Like, even if we don't know everything, but just trust that you're going to find out. If you go this way and that's not the right way, then okay, now you know it's not that way. So I love when you talked about the compass and just knowing that that wisdom is on the inside of you. Sometimes you just need to shut up, sit still, and listen. So thank you for sharing that.
Can we just talk about this for a second? Because you hit the nail on the head. One of the best things I heard, I believe it came from Brene Brown, who I love. And it's along the lines of, don't seek advice from someone who you wouldn't happily trade places with.
Ooh.
I'm going to say that again. Don't seek advice from someone you wouldn't happily trade places with. I remember when I was itching to do something different, to walk away from the salary and to do my own thing. And I was asking people that hadn't done that. Of course, they were going to tell me I was crazy and to not do it. Of course. If you are having a breakdown in your relationship, why would you talk to your auntie who is on her third marriage? Or, if you are wanting to make more money, bring more wealth consciousness into your world, why would you talk to someone who is living paycheck to paycheck? These are like, it's very sound advice. And Brene actually takes it a layer deeper to where she uses the analogy of, if you are on stage doing your thing, spreading your message, and there are people in the nosebleed seats that are booing you, we don't have to listen to the people in the nosebleed seats because they didn't put themselves on the stage. Mm-hmm. And putting yourself in that position is going to bring with it possible criticism and judgment from the people in the nosebleed seats.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. Like when you talked about where we get our advice from, I think, so everyone is always going to have some opinion, right? And a lot of times we can find value even if we don't agree, right? So like one of the things I've heard you say, which I think is so beautiful, is that sometimes you ask your clients to listen for insight and not necessarily agreement. So I understand that while we may not, while people have different opinions, we also have to think about the perspective, to your point. So if you think of an eagle, they can see all the way from up there. So when you're saying, hey, do you think it's too far? Do you think it's too high? They're like, Stephanie, what are you talking about? Like, come on, you can do this. But if you're talking to someone else, like a snake in the ground, they're like, wait, that is too far. You can never do that. So a lot of times we're talking from our perspective. So if I say to someone, what do you think about me saving up some money, starting this business on the side, and then eventually leaving my job? If their philosophy is that you're supposed to work one job, retire there, get a rocking chair and call that life, then they're going to think I'm crazy for leaving something that's stable, leaving your pension, leaving your steady paycheck, right? So to your point about, who you're talking to for advice, I think that's the value of looking on the inside, talking to God, getting wisdom, but also speaking to mentors who are not a step ahead of you, but probably 2-3 steps ahead of you. I was just talking to a woman the other day. She makes 6 figures, and she said, when she was ready to move to the next level, she didn't try to find a mentor who was making 7 figures. She wanted someone who was ahead of the curve. So she found someone who was making a lot more than her, and someone who did it strategically so that they could help her with a strategy, So I think it's such a great point that you raised in terms of who we're talking to, what our compass is, and, just surrendering. So good stuff, lady.
I love that.
So another thing I wanted us to talk about is servant leadership. So servant leadership is a term that was coined in like the 70s by this man named Robert Greenleaf. And basically it's prioritizing the needs of your team and just making sure that they fulfilled and that they're engaged. One thing I love about you and that I notice is that you always approach me personally from a level of service. It's always, how can I serve? How can I help you? What do you need? And I just found that to be so beautiful in a world where it's me first, give me. So where did that come from? Like, can you speak to that level of servant leadership that you display?
Well, thank you for that. And I have to tell you, it comes from a line of people before me who really imprinted that. And I'm so grateful for that, because I believe when we are rooted in service, there is no better way to show up. And so I have been really fortunate to come from a family of public servants. Service is in our blood. My beloved grandmother was one of the biggest influences in my life. She was full of love and kindness. She saw people. She loved people. And she cared about equality and diversity and acceptance in a time where we weren't really talking about that. And so all of these values were imprinted on me at a young age. She is my muse. And it's part of the reason why to this day, I'm kind of old school in that I love sending handwritten cards and notes to people through the snail mail. And
Yes.
he is the reason I do this. I would be sitting in my college dorm room and the mail would come and there would be cards from her checking in, and just the way that made me feel was so special. And so she's part of my why for sure. And one of my all-time favorite quotes and beliefs that I live by is that if you've been blessed, go out and be a blessing. We recently celebrated a big company milestone. And so I had this beautiful ring, custom designed, that one of those things that you have your eye on and you say, okay, when I hit this goal or meet this goal, I'm going to buy that thing. I'm going to treat myself. Yeah. That was the thing. And so I had engraved on the ring, be a blessing, because I want to remind myself, I want to always anchor in that notion that I'm here to use the many blessings that I've been given to go out and bless others. And that is truly what I'm here to do.
I love it. You absolutely embody and exemplify that. Like I've seen it, I've felt it, I've been a beneficiary of that. So thank you so much for just being truly who you are and for taking all the greatness that you've seen around you and incorporating. And congratulations on your milestone.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. When you talked about the family of public service and, all the benefits that you've learned from your grandmother, I think it's so beautiful because I've been blessed to have really, really amazing relationships. Like I've heard people say things about women being catty and women being petty and women this and women that. And even, calling the woman empowerment movement a fake movement because they're really not trying to empower people. And fortunately, that has not been my experience. I've really experienced the beauty and the benefits of friendships. So when I hear the way how you realize that it's something that you pay forward, I think it's so beautiful where you realize that collaboration is always more important than competition. Like there is so much space for us all. There are women who I'm never going to meet, but I can entrust them to you that you're going to give them what you need. There are women who maybe won't resonate with my story or with my approach, but they'll resonate with yours. So we get to help them. So I think when you talk about you're blessed to be a blessing, it's also that you understand that we can share space and we don't have to compete. We're running the same race. So there's no reason to compete. So I just thought that was so beautiful.
Thanks for reflecting that and catching that. It's truly, it's the abundance that we have available to all of us. There is more than enough. So often we're of the belief that we're lacking, and let's be honest, there are many, societal, cultural, economic reasons that people are unfavorably lacking.
Right.
And from an energetic standpoint, there is so much for all of us. And when we can, anchor arms and march forward together, it raises the vibration for everyone. And so this is what I'm really excited about, and just being being a part of something that is so much bigger than us, and really feeling this pull and this drive forward to unite and support and just lift each other up. We have been held down for way too long, especially women of color. And so, times are changing.
That's so beautiful. And I'm glad that you're a part of the movement and that you're contributing to the success of it. I'd be selfish if I didn't share you with everyone. What kind of women do you work with? Are you accepting clients? How do you help your clients, and where can we find you?
So we are accepting clients. Our practice is usually by invitation and referral only. And part of that allows us to work with our most perfect fit and aligned clients. And so what we're doing now is really helping coaches and consultants who are really clear in their gifts and how they serve their communities, and what makes their methodologies really powerful. We help you to take that up a notch. So to go from perhaps having a business that is allowing you to survive, but you really want to transition into thriving. And what thriving means to me and to my clients is really being able to have a handful of perfect fit clients that you're working with, and you're doing this on a part-time schedule if you choose. For so much of my adult life, I really worked to live. And so the paradigm shift now is doing really impactful work, meaningful work, and enjoying life a lot of the time. So much of the time we're not tapped into that. So really just kind of creating more space for women to be in their joy, be in their bliss, and build amazing things as they're doing that too, because we really can do all of that and have all of that.
I love it. And where do we find you? Where's your Where's your real estate?
Stephanie Hess Coaching. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, stephaniehesscoaching.com. We release free content daily to support people. So definitely feel free to go and kind of check us out. And if you vibe with what we're doing, I would love to chat with you.
Yay, awesome. What are some things that you wish you knew, or what are some gems that you'd like to leave us with? I want to just freestyle and tell me what you want to talk about now.
What's really present in my community currently, and stuff that I still have to work through daily, is this idea that there will be many old programs and beliefs within you that you will be called to unlearn in order to get to that next level of success, joy, peace, whatever it is that you are on a journey and wanting to create. So the unlearning of the old programs is harder than learning the things that you need to learn to get there. And I wish that I would have understood that years ago. Just things that we pick up over time, whether it's from parents or teachers, of course, people that were doing the very best with what they had. But just those things that we subconsciously pick up that are then driving our daily thoughts and beliefs and feelings and perspective, how we see things. So I wish that someone had held a big old megaphone to just let me know that, hey, girlfriend, you were going to have to unlearn a lot of crap as you go on this journey. And that is really the hardest part. And just knowing that it is so typical, it is par for the course. And don't wait to get the help that you need. Don't wait to get the community that you really, really feel are your people. That is one of the most expensive things that you can do. And again, I had to learn that the hard way. It's so common when you are a self-sufficient, highly capable person, you're going to roll up the sleeves and figure it out, as we all tend to do. And there is a part where that makes sense and is called for. Yeah. And there are other moments where you could save yourself a lot of pain and suffering and isolation if you were to just be willing to invest, or, whether it's a low price tag or a high one, whatever you're feeling called to do, just find the support, ask for the support, trust that you deserve having proper help to create what you want to create.
Okay. So those were a lot of gems, and I want us to unpack those all. Unlearning has been such a constant theme in my life, and not just in business. So while I was born in Connecticut, I grew up in Jamaica. So I consider myself to be a Jamaican woman. And culturally speaking, there are some things that you just don't do, and there's some things that you do. And having to unlearn the ones that no longer serve me, I won't even say it has been a task. It is a task, because some of these things are ongoing, right? Like I even remember something as simple as one of my friends saying, Ro, you have a lot going on. Why don't you just outsource some of your things, like have a cleaner come into the house? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm a Jamaican woman. I must clean my own home. And the interesting thing is that I didn't say that out loud, because if I did, I would have caught myself and said, that makes no sense. You need help, get help. But because it's so deeply ingrained in my brain of, this is what you do. This is what a woman does. This is what a Jamaican woman does. This is what a West Indian woman does. Those things sometimes are not so deep in our brains that we don't even realize our decisions and our thoughts are functioning from that place. So I love when you said that we need to unlearn some of these things, because if the thoughts no longer serve us, we need to disrupt them. The other thing too is that you don't know what you don't know. So when you talked about investing and getting the support that you need, that's where you go and say, hey, I'm trying to get my business to X level. How do I get there? The amount of, sometimes we think we're saving money, but the amount of time, stress, and frustration that we'll save ourselves, it's so worth the investment.
Mm.
So worth it.
So,
And yeah, even when you talked about, don't wait. It's like some of us haven't even begun to procrastinate. We're still waiting to even start procrastinating. But it's like, go out there, put one foot in front of the other, get the support you need. And even when I talk about asking for help, it's not always in business. Sometimes it's in our personal lives, whether you're a friend, a daughter, a mom, like just in your personal relationship. Sometimes you just need to ask for help to see what other to see what you don't know, right? So those were just some really, really good gems that you dropped.
and if I can just add to that, because what tends to happen is we hear something like this and automatically think, okay, so what they're telling me to go and do this big thing or invest in this big thing. And then what happens is that often leads to inaction. If the jump is too big, we're not going to jump. So let's break this down. What is
Ooh,
the
baby steps.
smallest step that you can take, and how can you just get in the room?
Mm,
Maybe you've pressed play on this video today and you are in the room with us. You are getting in the vortex, you're in the vibration. What inspired download is coming from this conversation? What insight are you getting? Okay, how can you take a small baby step on that insight that you got? Like, just get in the room. We're not talking, like, it doesn't have to be that you're, writing a check for 20 grand to do that. Get in the free room first and then
right.
figure out where you're called to go next. And it's just always increasing from there, up and up and up.
Yeah. And what I realized too, like I've been to conferences where the information that was downloaded was so amazing, but without that action, to your point, you leave as the same person. Because while your brain may process some new information, if you're not actually taking action to the next step, then you're not going to really experience the transformation. So I'm really glad that you honed that in, because to your point, a lot of times we try to eat the elephant whole, but then if it feels overwhelming, we're like, forget the elephant. I'm not even going to try to take a bite. So I really appreciate you for sharing that, and just, that was free coaching, breaking things down into bite-sized pieces so it does feel more palatable.
I love that you said that, because the indicator of success is often in the pace in which you implement. So to your point, it is great to absorb and consume, but
Mhm.
that only goes so far. How quickly are you able to draw out the insight or the thing you got and take action? The quicker you can do that, generally speaking, the more success you will create, and you will fast track your success, quite honestly. So that was such an important point that you made.
Well, I'm actually glad that you brought up the topic of success, because this morning as we were at breakfast, I gave both of my sons something to eat, and then the older one said, "Mommy, I beat him. I finished first." And I could have just let it go, but my coaching hat came on and I said, "Hun, success is not measured by your peers." Like, I'll tell you what I meant. So I said to him, your success is based on what you did yesterday. When you beat your past, that's what success is. It's about you staying in your lane and doing better than what you did yesterday, better than what you did a few days ago. It's not about beating your brother. So while I didn't say it to him like that, I had to explain to him that our success is not about racing or chasing someone else, right? So I thought for so long that, if you're in a class of 5 people and you get the highest, then that's success. But it's really not. It's, did I get a 70 last week? And then I got an 80, then I got a 90. That's the newer version of success that I'm looking at. I think it's so important for us to define things. One thing that I always say to my clients, let's define success. And then we'll, kind of do some verbal sparring. And then I ask them to redefine it. And I do the same thing with productivity. And I do the same thing with self-care, because what I realize is that we're using the wrong metrics, right? So I'll have a client who says, "Oh, Ro, I checked off 37 things off my list." Well, did you call your girlfriend, Stephanie? Did you tell your mom hi? Did you hug the person you said that you loved? Because if you're not walking in harmony and you're just burning out, like the grind, the hustle, I am so not about that life. So I think it's important for us to define success, define productivity, even productivity, like it's not about the list. Sometimes productivity is throwing the list out so you can get some sleep, right? But I think if we just start to rethink the measures that we're using, if you had a fun day, does that mean that it's unproductive? Maybe the metric you need to use is that, there is fun is a key performance indicator in my productive day.
This goes perfectly with what we were talking about in terms of unlearning. You are teaching people how to unlearn old paradigms that are no longer serving and supporting where they say they want to go.
Right.
It's this, engineering of a whole new system and operating system. And so it's such important work, and thank you for doing it.
Yay, thank you. Like you said, we're linking hands together and we're serving these women together because we truly do care and we want to make an impact. And so part of our legacy, like if we can say, I helped one woman to unlearn a thought or a system or narrative that no longer served her. I helped one woman to grow her business from a $50 client to a $500 client to a $5,000 client. Like as we begin to help women make these changes, we're just going to benefit the world because we know that women are so powerful in what we do, and we're going to take the whole village on, right? Like you said, when one rises, we all rise. So thank you for the work that you do.
And can I just say, it is not just that one client. It is her family, her community. Absolutely. That is getting the ripple effect of those amazing seeds that you helped her plant. And this just speaks to the power of, no matter if you're watching this and you're a coach or not, whatever it is you connect to and identify as, the little shift that we make inside of ourselves to raise our own vibration and to feel more joy and alignment, that directly impacts anyone that we come in contact with. And that is the beauty, that is the premise, that is the foundation of this whole thing, this whole movement around self-care, taking care of ourselves to be better for those around us. That is how we really change the world.
Well, yeah, the funny thing is that I actually tell people that self-care is the secret sauce to productivity. A lot of people think self-care is a waste of the time, or it's a thing you do after you've had a productive day. And I'm like, no, by you getting enough sleep, by you drinking enough water, by you being physically fit, you're going to be more productive. I've had days where I've slept for 8 hours and I wake up and something that would take me 30 minutes or 2 hours is taking me significantly less. There's less brain fog, there's more clarity. So self-care actually makes you more productive. But to your point about us, pouring into ourselves so that we can pour into others, I think as women, we're naturally nurturers. Even when we think about the oxygen mask theory, that wasn't a woman who coined that. That was a man from the FAA who said, hey, help yourself first, right? But it's common sense. If I'm passing out because I'm losing oxygen, I'm no use to the other person, right? So my babies know, my 5-year-old and 7-year-old know that if I get the self-care that I need, I'm going to be the Mary Poppins mama. But if I don't, I'm going to be a monster. So you let me know which version you want. What version do you want, right?
So good.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like we do have to take part in self-care. We are, like, whatever role we play, we're a woman first. And it's so important for us to unlearn this whole thing of putting everyone else first. That doesn't serve you, and it definitely doesn't serve the other people, right? Because like sometimes I'll talk to my clients and they're like, I didn't get enough sleep and I didn't do this and I didn't do that. And while they got everything else done for the people they were serving, the backlash was they were irritable, they were tired, they were cranky. So, okay, yeah, you cook dinner for the people you love, but if you were snappy the whole time, nobody wants to sit with you. Nobody wants to have dinner with you anyway. So I think it's just really us unlearning the whole narrative of we're last. I think it's fake humility. I really think it's fake humility where we think we're so noble, we're so humble. That's why we're putting everyone else ahead of us. but it's actually counterintuitive. You're of no good to anyone if your cup is empty.
Fake humility. That requires a whole episode on its own. I love that.
Yeah. So thank you, love. Thank you so much for sharing time and space with me. I truly enjoyed our conversation, and I just soaked up all your gems. Like, I don't know if you saw me looking down, but I was like taking notes, like, ooh, yes, love it. So I felt like I just got a coaching session. So thank you for sharing your gems, sharing your grace, sharing your love and light. You were just so amazing. And I am so thankful that because of LinkedIn, our paths crossed.
I couldn't, I just feel so similarly, and I'm always inspired by you, and just being in your orbit is just this lift. It just feels good to be around you, and I'm so happy to know you, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure, love. Thank you so much.
Mwah.